Yo, what's up guys, made Cresselia and I'm back bringing up Pokemon VGC 15 Wi-Fi battle for you guys today. Another replay battle I had from the battle spot, and this is another fantastic battle I had that comes extremely close, down to the wire, and a fantastic finale. So without further ado, let's just get straight on into this battle, shall we? So I'm running the same team that I have been going to be running for a while now, that I have mentioned on my last video, that I am climbing relatively high, so I want to use a team that I'm extremely comfortable with. And this is definitely one of those teams. So I'm actually going to decide to lead off with the Kangaskhan and the Bishop. So my opponent leads out with his Pachirisu and his Politoed. Here, turn 1, I make a little bit of a bad play. In fact, a very bad play. In hindsight, I could have probably predicted my opponent a lot easier than what I did. So what I'm actually going to do is decide to Mega Evolve and actually go for a Fake Out onto the Pachirisu. And I'm actually going to decide to also go for a Knockoff onto the Patch here. Double targeting it, and as you can see, it does in fact go for the Protect. And what I should have done and realised is, considering my opponent does have a Pachirisu on his team, definitely more a supporting one than my opponent's Politoed, would be more offensive. And as you can see, it does reveal it is in fact a Scarf Politoed, outspeeding my Bishop and firing off a Hydro Pump. So the following turn, I'm just going to decide to protect with my Bishop now, not wanting to go down to the Hydro Pump. If my opponent predicts that extremely well and just go straight for the Hydro onto my Kangaskhan, which does around about 65%. As I fire off a Double Edge onto my opponent's Pachirisu. As you can see, it isn't in fact running Citrus Berry, which is great for me, and I'm able to pick up that KO relatively early on the Patcher. I do manage just to survive with 13 HP after the recoil and the Hydro Pump damage, of course. So here, my opponent's going to send out his Salamence now, which does get the -1 onto my Kanga, but does give the +1 onto my Bishop here. So I had a couple of plays here. I could have double Sucker Punched the Politoed slot, but I guess that was kind of obvious. So what I'm actually going to decide to do though is actually preserve my Kangaskhan for later. And I'm actually going to decide to go into my Cresselia. And I did just decide to try and get damage off on the Politoed, but my opponent predicts the Sucker Punch relatively well and goes out into the Ferrothorn here. And that's nice for him. And he's going to decide to, of course, Mega Evolve with his Ments. And I believe he goes for the Earthquake. And yeah, my opponent does just go for the Earthquake, which will pick off my Bishop. And it would have also picked off my Kanga. So that's a relatively nice play from my opponent, and it will do a little bit of damage to his Ferrothorn, which 3 damage on his Pokemon is fine by me. So what I'm actually going to decide to do now is go back into my Kangaskhan. An obvious play would have been just to go for the Fake Out onto the Salamence. My opponent take out my Kangaskhan with his Ferrothorn, so I'm not expecting to target my Kanga with his Ments, and I'm actually going to go for that Helping Hand. That Helping Hand boosted Low Kick onto the Ferrothorn. This was a huge play as I do manage to pick up the KO, and that is great. Down goes his Ferrothorn. I did score a crit, but I'm pretty sure that didn't matter, and that is amazing for me, as taking out this Ferrothorn is huge because I do have a Sylveon in the back. So that's a fantastic turn for me, and I unfortunately did take a huge chunk of damage coming from that Double Edge onto the Cresselia. So here, in this play, I believe, and the play before, actually changes the game. My opponent goes for Protect now, which is understandable. I expect him. It's definitely a play he definitely could have made a viable play, and actually goes for the Surf now, locking himself into Surf. But here I actually reveal the Rest, something my opponent definitely was not expecting, which is the reason why I actually went for the Protect. And me getting off a Rest because I'm a Resto Chesto Cresselia is fantastic in this game, as I am just going to decide to lock myself into the Hyper Voice with my Sylveon. Of course, his Ments did protect that, and I'm able to get off a huge chunk of damage, over 50% onto the Politoed, which is great. Now the following turn, I believe I'm actually going to decide to just go straight for the Hyper Voice with my Sylveon, and actually go for the Icy Wind with my Cresselia, knowing full well my opponent's actually going to decide to target down the Sylveon, otherwise the Salamence will go down. After the recoil damage from this Double Edge, however, it's not going to put into the range where an Icy Wind will KO, I don't believe, but thankfully I do manage to land it on both my opponent's Pokemon, which is great. And here the following turn, the obvious play for me would have been to actually just go for the Icy Wind again, just to try and pick off the Salamence. So I'm expecting my opponent to predict that and actually go for the Protect. So here, what I actually decide to do is decide to just go straight for the Psychic onto my opponent's Politoed, expecting him just to Protect, get a little bit more chip damage off on my Cresselia with the Surf, hopefully get into range where a Double Edge may kill after one more Surf. And I do manage to go for Psychic. Unfortunately though, I don't quite manage to pick up the KO onto the Politoed. So my opponent's going to be able to get off another Surf, and it all comes down to whether my Cresselia can survive this Double Edge, and my HP is going down, but I do survive with 13 HP, a clutch survival as my opponent knocks himself out with a recoil, as I just went for the Icy Wind, and in retrospect I could have just gone for the Psychic, but At the same time, it was, I suppose, my safest play at the time. I could have potentially missed, which wouldn't have been great, but thankfully I don't. I'm able to pick up the kill on the Politoed. So huge survival from Cresselia right at the end there, putting in that work. So a pretty good game. I definitely made some good plays. I also definitely made some bad plays, aka the turn 1 play. But nonetheless, I believe I managed the game relatively well. It was a great learning experience, and I hope you guys enjoyed this nonetheless. If they, be sure to show your support by leaving a like. It only takes a quick second. Comment on the video and in the comment section below about the video, and of course subscribe for more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.